Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Radio Ramadan Wolverhampton. My name's Obaida Ahmed and I'm going to be your host for the next hour, inshallah. Now, our show today is called Women in Health, and so far this series, we've heard from sisters talk about their health experiences and how they have overcome some of the darkest moments in their life so far. We've also heard from sisters with successful careers in the health profession, and we hope that these stories and interviews will inspire and empower all of you to get through any struggles or obstacles that you have in your life. We also hope that it will inspire you to go out there and develop a career or in healthcare, or it will help you to go out there and face any challenges you've got in your profession. Now, later on in the show, we're going to be getting a public health update, but for now, we're going to focus on mental health. And it's with great pleasure I welcome Chloe Davis to the show. Now, Chloe is a trainee clinical psychologist and is currently studying a doctorate in clinical psychology. So Chloe, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, so like I said, my name's Chloe. I am a trainee clinical psychologist. So that means that I'm training to be a psychologist. I'm on a 3-year doctoral program. And yeah, that's sort of that's what I do. It's taken me quite a few years to get to this point, but the idea is at the end of the 3 years, I should have my qualification and be able to go work in the NHS or in charitable settings or anywhere really that you might find a psychologist.
Brilliant, Chloe. And just tell us a little bit about how you've got to this point. I mean, how did you have to study before to get here, or?
Yeah, so there's lots of different training routes to become a psychologist, but to become a clinical psychologist specifically, there's a couple of things that you have to do, and so I'm coming to the final stages now. So the first thing I had to do was go to university and do an undergraduate degree in psychology. And if it is something that you're interested in, it's helpful if that degree is accredited by the British Psychological Society. So that needs to happen first.
Okay.
They're quite easy to find. Yeah, but it's just if you are interested in that as a particular career, it's just to double check that the course you're doing is accredited. Okay. So yes, that's a 3-year undergraduate degree. I did that up in York. It's a nice part of the world. And then I came back to the Midlands and I spent sort of 5 years or so just working really, because the idea is between your degrees, you're supposed to try and get a lot of practical work experience. So I spent one of the first things I did, I went and worked in substance misuse services. And I worked as a drugs worker for a little while. Then I worked in the prison service, delivering psychological groups there, and I've then worked in adult mental health and in youth work programs around Wolverhampton. So that was sort of my little bit of work experience in between.
Well, and then so you've been around the block, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, it's good to I think build that experience, and when you're looking to get onto the training programs, they are quite often looking for people with just a broad range of interests, because when you're at work in psychology, you end up seeing lots of people from lots of different walks of life, and so I found it really helpful to move around a little bit and get a sense for the different services and what's happening out there. So yeah, it was a really formative experience. But then once you've during that time you will be and what I was doing was applying for the doctoral program, the doctorate in clinical psychology. Those courses are throughout the UK. It's not at every university, but they are. There's I think 3 or 4 in the Midlands. We've got Staffordshire, Coventry and Warwick do a course, Birmingham, and if you want to go out to sort of Leicester or Nottingham, there's courses that are around that way as well. So that you can apply for that, and then that's what I'm doing now, and that's a 3-year doctoral program.
That's great, Chloe.
Mixture of placements, research, and like academic lectures, that kind of thing.
So Chloe, when you first started out on your studying journey, did you think you'd go this far with it?
No, probably not. I knew that I wanted to be in the helping professions. I knew that I wanted to work in sort of mental health. I knew I wanted to do that. I loved psychology because I thought it's really, really broad. You, like I say, you work with people across the lifespan from all walks of life. There's lots, you're not constrained to one theory or one way of working. It's really, really broad, and I liked that. So I knew that psychology was a passion. It's just a bit of a long journey, as you can sort of hear from just my own journey. I think that's pretty standard for a lot of people who train as psychologists now, that they do, you know, you've got your undergrad degree, then multiple years of work experience before you can even start training. So it's just, along the way, you're kind of thinking, oh, is this the right path?
Yeah.
It's a lot of hard work. It's a long game. So there's definitely times where I wasn't sure.
You have to be very committed to it, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I think that working in different services has been helpful, because it's just kept that passion alive, really. And, you know, going and meeting new client groups, different ways of working, and that keeps you really motivated.
You've not given yourself any time to get bored, have you?
No, quite. And you also come across different mental health professionals, and the more I learned about different roles, I thought, no, I really think psychology is the way that I would like to work. Obviously, there's lots of different ways of working in mental health. You've got nursing and psychiatry or counselling and different types of therapy. And the more I was meeting people, I thought, no, that's, you know, psychology was really what really worked and really got my interest. So I think that definitely helped as well.
Okay, so as part of the show, we want to try hopefully inspire our sisters to go out there and learn more in different professions, hopefully in healthcare, if that's my target anyway, but in any profession. So what would you say is the thing that attracts you the most to your line of work?
I think it is such a privilege to be with people when they are feeling so vulnerable. And hearing their story. And I think that is such a precious gift you can give to the world, if you are able and have the desire to do that. I think you should use it. And I think women in particular, I think we're taught and we are socialised from really young ages to be the carers in our community, to be the carers in our family. And that is an amazing skill set. So why not use it and share it? And I think that's definitely, for me, one of the best parts of the job is just being able to use a skill and something that I do anyway. And being able to take it to people when they're at their most vulnerable, and really just be alongside people and hear those stories, and support them to get to a better place in their lives, I think.
Chloe, you definitely make it sound very rewarding. I'm sure it's not as easy as you make it sound, but but you know, Chloe, you know how it is. We're all busy in life. We've all got, you know, family or whatever. How do you get that balance? How have you managed to strike that balance to be able to study and work and go further with it?
I think I think the word balance is right, and it's like, how do you get that balance? I think having lots of interests really helps. So when I'm not at work, I'm doing lots of other things. So I'm quite active. I might be walking, exercising. I follow a lot of football. I've got a really good group of friends who aren't psychologists. So I think that forces you into having that balance. So there's, you know, it's about picking the stuff that you do outside of work wisely. And make sure you're getting the fullness of life, really. And then I think as well, just really carving out some real good boundaries for yourself around your well-being. I think one of the things that I did as part of my training, I am coming to the end of it now. And one of the things I set myself at the very beginning was a sort of a little golden rule, really, that I wouldn't work on a Saturday. So for me, a Saturday is a day that there is no university work, there's no assignments, there's nothing, all that extra stuff. No, that doesn't happen on a Saturday. That is my day. And whether I, spend time with my partner, with my friends, whether go do things, and just protecting that little bit of space. And it sounds like a small thing, but it's really challenging to do when you're being pulled in lots of different directions.
I was say, you have to be really disciplined to stick to that.
And I think I've been quite privileged in that I don't have little children and things like that. So for me, that rule works. but it's about, so I suppose it's not everybody do what I do, but more about finding a small thing that you can do that is for yourself, and you know that will help sustain you as you're juggling things.
I can actually relate to that, Chloe, because working and with the kids, and it's almost as if in your head you have these little sections. Okay, now I'm going to do this with this set of people, and this with my family, this with my friends, this with my work colleagues. I can actually relate to that. So without realizing, I've kind of done what you're doing as well. So
it does. I think it's having that, like you say, lots of different things going on in your life, so you're not putting all your eggs in one basket and your energy's not all in one place, but then also just having that little bit of something for yourself and committing to it. Because as much as I think at times we all think, oh, I haven't got time for that, we do have some, most of us, I'd like to believe, do have some time that we can commit to when we put ourselves first. But so it's that having the courage to put ourselves first for a small part of the week, at least, anyway.
Yeah, it's really important, isn't it? Yeah, we hear this term a lot, self-care and giving yourself that time. I suppose you're the expert on that.
Well, questionably sometimes, but self-care. And when we're thinking about self-care as well, it's sometimes we can think, oh, it's all sort of spa days and bubble baths and that stuff's really nice, but actually there's a part of self-care which is about what's actually quite practical right now. So when I'm trying, when I've got this busy life and all things are going at once, my self-care is also about making sure the boring things get done. That means that my life keeps ticking over okay, and that's like, am I getting enough water down me? I appreciate it's Ramadan at the moment, so that is a different context, isn't it? But am I eating well? Am I exercising? And that kind of, have I opened that mail that I've been avoiding a little while now? So it's that it's that boring stuff as well, and trying to take care of yourself in the real basic ways, because when you're not at a very basic level, if you're not doing great, then the rest of the stuff just will start unraveling, I think.
Absolutely. If your mental health is right, everything else just kind of falls into place, doesn't it? If you're fit and active.
Absolutely. You've got to get the foundation correct.
Absolutely. So Chloe, with your line of work, I mean, I imagine you come across some pretty intense situations. How do you switch off from that?
I think it's a mixture of different things that I think over the years I've got better at it. I think initially I would take a lot of work home with me. So a few things I think's helped over the years, and I think again some boundaries around work. So I don't tend to not, and again, this is a privilege of my job, is I get a bit of flexibility over how my diary looks, but I try not to book anything too late in the day. So I've got at least half an hour, maybe an hour at the end of the day to be doing something other than sitting with people. As well, just before weekends as well, try to hold quite a firm boundary around not doing too much there. So there's some stuff that I do within work which really helps, but then there's things like having a good support network. I've got very good support networks within work, and my supervisors in our roles and in mental health work in particular usually get something called clinical supervision, which is a space with your supervisor to talk through your cases and how things are going clinically, and it gives you space to explore how you feel in response to what you're hearing. So that happens within work, but then outside of work, it's about those support networks that you've got, family, friends, any of your community groups, faith groups, anything like that, where you can get just cared for and restored by the people who love and care about you in your life. And so that really helps, I think.
Great. There's some really, really, really important tips there. A lot of our guests that have come on before you, Chloe, have mentioned having these support networks and how important they are. And I just really hope that, if anything, that this show brings that home, that if we want our women to go out there and be professional and have good careers and be active, they need their support networks.
Yeah, you can't do it alone. It is not a journey that anybody does on their own, whether that is in psychology or in any health profession. You are ultimately, you are standing on the shoulders of the people who've come before you, but also around you. You know, they're the people that lift you up in your life are so important. And it's I think anybody in this line of work will say when things are difficult at home, it becomes really hard to do the job. Because you're a human first, before you're a professional. So it is about, you know, and that happens. It does happen. Life gets hard for all of us for all sorts of different reasons. Again, we are human, aren't we? So that can't be helped. But I think it really does reinforce that how I think we overlook sometimes how helpful our support networks are, but actually they're so essential.
Yeah, it's one of those things we take for granted, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's only when it's not there that you realise how much you use it. And it's little things like, just even if you're not talking about work, and I would hope that most professionals are, you know, keeping their work confidential, but you go home and you might not even be saying about how difficult your day's been, but just having people who make you laugh and can talk to you about normal TV things. Because I think when you're in the helping professions, you see the world when it's at its most difficult. You see people's lives when it's at its most difficult, and I think when you do that day in, day out, it can be really challenging to hold on that not everybody's lives are like that. You know, not everybody is going through real heartache and tragedy at any given time. It happens, and we're all human, and it is a normal thing to go through, but it's not everybody. I just hope we can all be there for each other as well as ourselves. Absolutely. Make the world a better place. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So Chloe, this last year has been difficult for all of us. I mean, you know, with the pandemic, and we're kind of at the point of the pandemic now when people are fed up, and you know, there's going to be you can see there's going to be a pandemic of mental health problems, if anything, can't you? There's been a lot of people have been locked up and socially isolated from people. So how are we going to pick ourselves up from this? What do you expect things to become really tough, or what do you think will happen?
I think it's been a bit of a mixture, really, in terms of what we've seen already and what is likely to come. I think so. You see that there are people who have responded really well to lockdown. So they've responded really well to life slowing down. Maybe a lot of pressure has been taken off if you're not commuting, if you're not being asked to socialise as much, if you're, you know, whatever it is. There's a lot of people who really take to that. And so coming out of lockdown might be quite scary. And
that's
then
really interesting, actually.
Yeah, then there's the flip side of actually we've been locked down, and the lockdown itself has been really detrimental to somebody's mental health. And there's, you know, I think plenty in the sort of media about rising sorts of things like eating disorders and other mental health problems that have been really exacerbated by lack of social support networks. I think a lot of it is, but not being able to get outdoors and be in the fresh air. So I think it depends on how you've experienced lockdown. But yeah, there are going to be huge waves of people that coming out of lockdown was going to be quite challenging, and that for people that have maybe seen their mental health deteriorate during lockdown, that are going to probably need some support. And then plus the impact of long COVID or people who've been hospitalised through COVID is quite traumatic. So I think we're going to see a mixture of issues in the future, which is going to be challenging for mental health services, for sure.
Some new areas as well, isn't there, for learning for everyone, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting because we know, I think things like long COVID can impact people's sort of cognitive ability, so their ability to think and their memory and that kind of thing. So be interesting to see how that then impacts how they engage in services, and we've got a lot to learn from people with disabilities and the disabled community. We have such a lot to learn from them about how for people with long COVID or who've had really negative impacts from COVID, how they recover and look after their mental health in the post-COVID world, I suppose. Yeah, so these are all areas of interest that are coming up now.
Where can you suggest anywhere where people can go to get some advice or helpful if they've suffered with any long, or they're suffering with long COVID or any other issues that you've mentioned?
Yeah, I think the first thing to do is just go chat with your GP. So your GP are definitely, they're going to have, they're going to know all the services that are available to you locally. And I think that's becoming some of the issue now is knowing what's available to in each area. But your GP is going to know that, and they can give you that nice holistic assessment. So thinking about the physical health side of things, but also actually about your mental health. And if you're obviously, if you're not sure, if you need something a bit more urgent, then you've got your 111 and things like that. But it's just going and having that conversation with a professional. Maybe take, if you've been suffering with long COVID or really negative impacts from COVID, take a little list, not note down the changes that you've noticed yourself or the changes that your family have seen, both from a physical and mental health perspective, and just sort of, and when those things came on, when they're at their worst, when they're at their best, and it helps give that picture to the GP about what's been happening for you and what they can offer you sort of locally.
That's really useful, Chloe. Thank you. And just finally, before we wrap up today, just something about women who have got teenagers or children, and I know they've experienced, as the rest of us, some mental health issues as well during this lockdown. So any advice or any tips that we can give to our sisters who are looking after children?
Yeah, it's been a really tough time for children, and I think they've done such a remarkable job. So first of all, just children, just for any that might be listening, just a big pat on the back, really, because it's been really, really difficult. I think it's that. I mean, it's every child is an individual, and parents know their children best. But it's that, again, I think going back to basics, really. They've been locked up, indoors for a long time. So reintroducing lots of, not lots of, but reintroducing sort of social activities, lots of outside play, all those things that they have been missing out on, just slowly introducing them back into their lives. I imagine, as a lot of parents have been doing already, but not putting too much pressure on it. And just, I think some of the best things we can do sometimes with children is just to listen and hear, try and see how they're feeling about things, really listen to that, and be guided by them a little bit, because it's quite scary, I think, depending on the age as well, and where they're at in their development, of course, and what their previous experiences were before to lockdown. Again, they might have really thrived in lockdown. Some children have, and some might not have. So it's about, okay, now that this transition is coming, what did you like about lockdown? What didn't you like about it? What can we try and keep as a family? What are you desperate to change and never, get rid of and never see again? And really hearing that, and then just having the patience and just, and giving it a little bit of time. I think children are quite resilient, but they've been through a lot recently. So it's that, just giving them give a space to readjust to the new world. Yeah.
That's really useful. As you're saying all of that, I'm thinking of all my kids. I'm thinking which bit relates to. That's really useful, Chloe. Thank you very much for coming on our show today. I hope a lot of our listeners have been inspired and want to go out and do more in the mental health and profession, and even just looking after themselves a bit more.
Yeah, first look after yourself, and then we can start thinking about other people. But definitely there's lots of, I mean, I'm just talking about psychology, but there's so many different roles as a mental health professional, if that is your kind of interest, and it's just worth exploring, and looking for the kind of thing that makes sense to you and that really takes your interest. And it's such a worthwhile job, definitely.
Thank you very much, Chloe.
No problem, Obaida. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, there's some great advice and tips from Chloe there, and I hope you all found that really useful. It's time for the ad break now, and I'll see you on the other side. Please do join us again.
This is Ramadan Radio. Feeling peckish? Treat your taste buds with a range of delicious snacks and flavours of the Far East from Indus. Why not try our range of roasted nuts, dried fruit, Bombay mix and flavoured snacks? Indus by AIB Foods. Available in your local supermarkets and varied retailers. Indus, the world's finest foods.
Do you receive benefits? If you do, you could qualify for free or part-funded energy-efficient A-rated boilers from Northern Gas Heating. Call 0800 083 1000 or go to northerngasheating.com to see if you're eligible. It's a quick and easy assessment. Northern Gas Heating, celebrating 20 years in the industry with over 100,000 happy customers and 80-plus staff. We're the UK's local central heating company. Northern Gas Heating would like to wish you all a blessed Ramadan and a happy Eid. Mina Bazaar, one of the UK's biggest collections of Asian bridal wear and fashion. Established for over 25 years, we're now showcasing and taking orders for our brand new catalogue. We have Mina Bazaar's men's bridal wear. We'll be stocking the very best in groom sherwani, fashion kurta and waistcoats. Book an appointment today and get 15% off during Ramadan at Mina Bazaar, 184 Ladypool Road, Birmingham, B12 8JS by calling us on 07970 265 956. For any type of recruitment, there's only one company to call, Right Recruitment. Looking to recruit warehouse staff, senior management, or even directors? Right Recruitment is all you need. Call Right Recruitment now on 0121 454 6561. Right rates, right candidates, do it the right way. Call Right Recruitment now on 0121 454 6561. That's 0121 454 6561. Learning to drive? Learn with Ladyship. Wolverhampton and the surrounding area's female driving instructor. Ladyship offers driving lessons in a patient and friendly environment, with lessons available in Punjabi, Urdu and Mirpuri, and nervous pupils are especially welcome. She's Pass Plus registered and can also provide refresher lessons and motorway driving lessons, with discounts available for block bookings. Call 07964 679 742 or search online for Ladyship Driving School.
Fatima Bakes, your trusted local baker, providing high-quality treats at unbeatable prices. From cupcakes, brownies, cakesicles, cakes to customized desserts and treat boxes. Order for your loved ones now. Our bakes are lovingly crafted to put a smile on your face. Order today. Follow us on Instagram at fatima.bakes or give us a call on 07547 360 760. Discount to our Ramadan radio customers.
Are you replacing windows in your home? Here at AK Windows, with over 30 years experience manufacturing and installation, we can provide you with premium and affordable UPVC, aluminium windows and doors, roof lanterns, composite and bifolding doors. We offer a free quotation on all work with our selected range of windows in grey, white and much more. We can also repair window and door locks with glass repairs too. We also supply to the trade. Call today for a free quote on 01902 421 500. AK Windows.
The Prophet, peace be upon him, said that when a person passes away after taking their last breath, the good deeds they can do also come to an end, except for 3, one of which is Sadaqah Jariyah. The opportunity to invest in a Sadaqah Jariyah project that will help you accumulate daily rewards even after you pass away is available here in Wolverhampton. Simply donate to the House of Allah, Jamia Masjid Aqsa, for the car park project. Don't miss this amazing opportunity in this blessed month. Donate today by bank transfer, PayPal or even cash. Details can be found on the Masjid website, jamiamasjid.com. Don't delay. Invest in your akhirah today. The death of a loved one is a very emotional and challenging time for the family members of the deceased. Al Mu'min Funeral Services have been supporting families across the UK since 2005. Their professional, experienced and quality service ensures the whole process from release from hospital to burial is taken care of respectfully and efficiently. They also specialise in worldwide repatriations, assisting to take loved ones to Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Iraq or anywhere worldwide. almu'minfunerals.co.uk, your trusted funeral service.
Eurofit Auto Centres, the West Midlands leading independent auto centre, celebrating 18 years of service. This Ramadan, we're offering 20% off all services, MOT and repairs, with a free collection and drop-off service within Wolverhampton. Book online today at eurofitautocentres.co.uk or call us on 01902 40 40 45 and we'll direct you to your nearest branch. The experts making vehicle repairs simple. This is Ramadan Radio, your local voice, your local Muslim radio. This is Ramadan Radio.
Welcome back, listeners. We're going to continue our focus on mental health. And next up, we're going to hear from Nazima, who works for the Black Country NHS Trust and focuses on the BAME community.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Nazima, and welcome to Radio Ramadan Wolverhampton.
Walaikum assalam, Sister Obaida. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, you're most welcome. So, Sister Nazima, just tell us a little bit about yourself and about your role that you're playing at the moment, please.
Mm-hmm. My name is Nazima Skopri and I work as a community development worker. So it's a BAME community development worker for the Black Country NHS Trust. Mm-hmm. So the Black Country NHS Trust is a mental health service provider. So we provide various mental health support in the community for people with learning disabilities, children's, working age adults and older members of the communities, really. So that's kind of where the trust I work for. So my role really has been quite a new initiative from the trust. We've been looking, obviously, with the impact of COVID-19 on the BME communities. There's been a massive disproportionate impact, and I'm sure many people have heard that there's been a significant increase in the number of people that have passed away due to the COVID-19, and also the challenges around the mental health needs in the communities. So our role was kind of created really to look to kind of go into the community, to speak to different community members and groups to identify what the challenges were around the COVID-19, looking at the impact this has had on their mental health. So since I started the role in June last year, I've been kind of engaging with different various community groups, which this has been across the whole of the Black Country. So we're kind of working or talking to different communities, from migrant communities, from the learning disabilities community, talking to people from the deaf community. And those are people from the BME population who've had kind of been just obviously the challenges, the mental health impact they've had on the COVID-19 that's had on their mental well-being. What we've kind of found was been most predominantly around the language barrier that people have faced. So we've seen that there's been lots of materials out there in different languages, but when we've spoken to the communities, they've kind of said that sometimes they don't have the literacy skills to actually read those materials, even if it's available in their own language.
Okay, that's really interesting, actually. So you're looking into like almost the health inequalities across the Black Country, particularly focusing on the BME communities. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. Brilliant. So that's really interesting about the literacy, because I know a lot whenever we're trying to do some work in the community, we always say, we need to make it in different languages. But you're right, if they can't even read and write in their own language, then how do we get to those people? How do we get them the information suitable for them to understand? That's really how. What are your thoughts on that? What have you got that far yet, or are you just still?
We have. We've kind of. The whole purpose is really kind of engaging with different communities. Is that we've kind of working more collaboratively with them to look at, well, how do we get that information across to those who can't speak the language? What different avenues we can take. So obviously, if it's going to be verbal or delivering different webinars in different languages, articulating that information rather than just providing written material. And I think you may see it now there's a lot more things happening in different languages, which are not just in written format, but they're actually out there where people are going through different radio channels in different languages, but also like different webinars are being set up and discussions around whether it's talking about the vaccine in Urdu or the vaccine in Punjabi and things like that. So these are new things that are coming about in terms of trying to support those communities to make those decisions.
That's great, because everyone learns differently, don't they? Even myself, I speak English, but if there's an option to watch a video, I'd rather watch than read. That's just the way I learn better. So that's really good, actually. That's brilliant. Aside from the literacy side, what other health inequalities have you found in the BME community?
So, there's been quite a few, and one of the key ones I think people probably seen it mentioned quite a lot is around the digital access. So, when we've been talking to different communities, we've kind of identified that, especially in the first lockdown, Obaida, that a lot of people couldn't afford, didn't have internet access, didn't have the ability to use that, and that meant a lot of the children who were supposed to be kind of studying from home didn't have access, and including like access to those laptops. I mean, we knew that a lot of families who were had multiple, who had 3-4 children, and they've only got one laptop between them, and sharing that. If they're living in a crowded environment, having the space to do their schoolwork and so forth. So we knew that the digital dilemma that we've kind of come across is such a massive barrier for our communities. And even with having the digital laptops at home, even if they've got the material, but sometimes many families didn't have the skills or the IT skills to use them. So they couldn't support.
So we've never needed to use them, have we? So even if we did have them, we've never needed to use that kind of IT. So it was learning for all of us, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's kind of really brought a lot of challenges, because nowadays, I mean, a lot of things are becoming more online, and the support available is becoming more online. So, especially in the BME communities, if you don't have those digital skills, then there's going to be a massive barrier for you to get the support that you need.
Okay.
So that's what we've kind of come across quite a lot. So it's around the data as well, not affording the internet, not having the skills, but also not having those expensive digital materials that you need, really. So
how have you supported them? How are you getting out to those people?
So what we've been kind of doing in terms of like trying to support that, since early this year, we've started forming groups, BME organisations across each locality, kind of getting together to support their local communities. So what we've started with is a BME group in Warsaw, where all the BME organisations, and this includes like faith organisations, Health Watch, and other organisations, are already trying to support the BME communities, but trying to come together in terms of how we're going to kind of tackle some of these health inequalities. So we've been kind of addressing some of each issues. I mean, because there are services around that do support people around IT skills, for offering or loaning out the laptops and stuff, but it's just getting those services to those people. I think it's getting the two to meet, really. That's what we've been doing, and developing these groups has kind of like eased that process. So if somebody comes into the mosque, and then they're saying like, we've had these challenges, and the person in the mosque can direct them towards the right places if they are aware of those services, if that makes sense, Obaida. But that's what we're trying to do, just raising the awareness of what's already available, and ensuring that our community leaders are having that knowledge of what's there, so that they can share it with their communities.
That's brilliant. I think that's a step forward, isn't it? Getting everyone needs to play their part in the community. I mean, if you are someone who can access the information, are you sharing it with people who can't? I think it's going to take a whole community's effort, isn't it, to reach those really hard vulnerables who can't get the information. Yeah.
Definitely, and that's what we're trying to do. Is we were working more at a systemic level, where we're working with community organisations and community leaders, to ensuring that they are well supported, to understand some of the challenges that they face within the community, but also kind of making sure that the right support is there. And it is around the mental health support, but we understand that mental health is also linked in with loss of job, not having those financial support, not having that right housing needs and so forth. So we are trying to work with these organisations as well to ensure that that the BME have an equal access to get the support that they need. So that's the whole purpose of our role, is we're kind of working with community leaders and community groups across the Black Country.
That's great, Nazima. So our show here today is trying to focus on women's health and women's health issues, that kind of area. So are you doing any work specifically for women's health issues, and particularly in Wolverhampton area? Or will you be looking to do any in the future?
So we did one. So I did one piece of work last year with the women's health. So this was around cervical cancer. I think so I worked alongside this organization called Overcome, and they're like a charity organization, and they provide information around cervical cancer. And I kind of we worked together to develop videos in different languages. Because like we were saying, written materials are not always easy to read. So they developed these little video clips, and I took part in one of the video clips to kind of talk in my language, which is Gujarati, to identify what the symptoms are, and where to seek help. And obviously they've also started their own helpline, which is in different languages, so people can ring in.
Brilliant. Yeah. Oh.
Videos were made in different languages, so that obviously people can are able to understand issues around cervical cancer. So and they've also developed helplines as well, which are again in different languages. But this was I supported with Overcome, which is a charity organisation, as I said. So yeah, so that's one of the key bits we have done around women's physical health needs. And I'm just trying to think. And then we are working around I won't say it's women's, but the domestic violence issue that's been kind of quite prevalent in the past year due to COVID-19. So we are kind of addressing some of that within the community organisation that we're working with.
That's good. That's great. So if anyone wants to get more information about or any projects that you're involved in, is there anywhere we can point them to or direct them to?
Well, obviously, you can always go onto the Black Country Healthcare website, and obviously that kind of gives you a bit of a good overview in terms of what the service is about and what we do and what we offer. I guess in terms of, obviously people can contact me directly as well. I can share my email address out, and if people do want to kind of get in touch,
please,
find out a bit more about what I do and how we work in the communities, I'm more than welcome to.
Go ahead, share your email with us. That's great.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, so it's it's Nazima, Nazima .escopri, ESSCOPRI 1 at nhs.net. So if people do have any queries or any questions or just want to know more in terms of what we do, then, yes, do get in touch.
That's great, Nazima. Thank you very much for your time today, and good luck with all the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Obaida. Thank you.
So for the next part of today's show, we're going to be having a little update from our local public health team. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Mikhail. Mikhail, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yes, hi, Mikhail. Hi, welcome to the Radio Ramadan, Wolverhampton.
Thank you very much.
How are you today?
Yeah, I'm fine. And yourself?
I'm fine, thank you. So Mikhail, can you just tell us a little bit about the role that you play in the public health team here?
Yeah, that's fine. So my current role at the moment is that I'm working as a part of the Wolverhampton's public health team, specifically as a health improvement officer. But my background itself is that I'm from a nursing background, and I'm also trained in epidemiology as well.
Brilliant. So thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come and join us today. I know that the public health team all over the country are working incredibly hard to keep us all safe. It's been a very tough year. Would you agree?
Oh, yes, it has been. Nobody expected what would have happened. But yeah. I think given all the circumstances, the public health teams definitely have been working quite hard. And we've been just adapting as the has come in and adopted our policies as we are going forward with it.
Oh, so our show here today is called Women in Health. So we want to focus on hopefully on Muslim women's health or generally women's health. And the reason I invited you today was just to give us a little bit of an update on how the Muslim community has been affected by the pandemic here in Wolverhampton. So I know generally speaking that the BAME community was hit a lot harder throughout the pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit more about how it was in Wolverhampton, or, was it the same kind of trend?
So in regards to so I'll start off firstly by looking at from the BAME community. And how it was impacted in regards to Wolverhampton and nationally itself. So a recent study between the University of Wolverhampton and the Royal Wolverhampton Trust analyzed some clinical data and demographic data for people who severely suffered from COVID-19, and those that were admitted to the hospital and those that passed away from the virus. And the findings highlighted that there was an increased risk of severe COVID for people from a Black ethnicity compared to a white ethnicity. However, compared to national and international studies, the local research found that people of an South Asian background had a lower risk with white and Black ethnicities. So the results were based on cases admitted to the New Cross Hospital compared to the whole population of Wolverhampton. So I'm sure that your listeners are quite aware that when you look at the proportionate risk or the proportionate impact of COVID-19 on the gradient of ethnicity, ethnic minorities have been disproportionately impacted, whether it is on the basis of hospitalization, whether it is on the basis of cases, or whether it is on the basis of deaths related to COVID-19, unfortunately.
Okay, so that's really interesting to hear that. So why do you think that is then? Why do you think that case is that, especially for the South Asian community, why do you think we kind of done a bit better than nationally?
So it's for a number of factors why it is that they have been impacted more disproportionately. When I say disproportionate, I mean more negatively in comparison to the white standard population. And I think you need to also look at it that when you break down South Asians, for example, the Indian ethnicity has a differing death rate or a differing hospitalization rate in comparison to the other South Asian ethnicities that are aligned with that, whether it is Bangladeshi or Pakistani. But more importantly, a lot of what the data is currently showing at the moment, that it's not just ethnicity that's the main factor, but it's also factors that are surrounding ethnicity, such as deprivation, such as access to adequate housing, and also factors such as employment, and also the actual type of job that the individual is in, whether it is a frontline role that is potentially they're more front-facing in comparison to job roles where they're more able to stay at home. So essentially what I'm trying to say is that yes, ethnicity does play a key role, but COVID-19 has shown us that you cannot just look at it in that sense. It's all of these social health factors that are surrounding it that unfortunately ethnic minorities usually tend to be more disproportionately impacted by these social health factors in comparison to the standard population, and hence why they're potentially more at risk.
That's really interesting to hear that. So I know you say that there are a lot of other factors that have been highlighted through COVID. These certain communities are more vulnerable, if you like. What plans do public health have, or have you got to that point where going forward we don't have, if another pandemic, God forbid, was to hit, how can we try and put ourselves in a better position? Are public health starting to look at that?
So one way how we're going about putting ourselves in a better position is that we're trying to learn as much as we possibly can from the data. We're effectively, because of the fact that we've never had this type of pandemic before, we're adjusting the way how we're managing the outbreak as we're going along and working as best as possible with the data. If nothing else, I think one of the major lessons that we've learned is the importance of personal hygiene, or individuals, the hands, face, and space that we're currently adopting. So things such as wearing a mask, for example, the evidence is overwhelmingly clear that mask wearing is quite important in helping to reduce the spread of COVID-19. Adequate space and ventilation as well is also quite important in reducing the spread. And more importantly, as we're within this stage of vaccination, then getting your vaccine whenever it is that you are invited to get the vaccine is also quite important in us reducing the spread of COVID-19.
So we'll come back to the vaccines in a minute, but just in terms of all the restrictions that have been placed, like all this hand gel and the masks, and do you think these will be around for a while? Do you think, because I think it's become the norm now, and I think I think it's going to take a long time for us to go into a room of crowded people and just be there normally, especially if they're strangers. What do you think?
Yeah, at the moment, obviously, as I said, the pandemic itself is, even though unfortunately it's been going on for a year now, the pandemic is still readily unfurling. Thankfully, we've got the vaccines as a light at the end of the tunnel. But in regards to your specific question itself, I do believe that, at least for the foreseeable future, then these control measures, i.e. the recommendation of hand washing, the wearing of masks, the adequate spacing, and ensuring that you're ventilating and as best as possible, ensuring that you're not engaging in any large groups that you could potentially be putting yourself or others around you at risk, and also only going out whenever it is you definitely do need to go out. I think all of these are restrictions, or these are control measures that will be in for the foreseeable future, at least until we get a sizable amount of the population vaccinated. And then we can go from there, because then we'd have a larger protection generally across the population.
That's fair enough, isn't it? I mean, if it gives us some kind of a normal life again, I think it's well worth, everyone playing their part in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so about the vaccines, I mean, nationwide, we've been a fantastic rollout. I myself was involved in vaccinating in clinics. What's it like in Wolverhampton here? Has the uptake been good, and especially in the Muslim community or the BAME community, if you're able to share that with us?
Yeah, so the vaccine rollout in Wolverhampton essentially mirrors the national picture. So it is going quite well. So the latest figures show that almost 140,000 doses have been given across the city, and over 21,000 people have had their second dose, a number which is increasing rapidly now every day. So more and more people are taking it up every day. Unfortunately, whilst we do not have specific ethnicity data for the uptake, we do know that nationally, more ethnically diverse areas of the city have a lower vaccine uptake rate in comparison to the other areas. So at the moment, we're currently working to try and amend this. We're currently working with the faith leaders and community champions and local influencers to encourage the ethnic minority communities to increase their uptake and to address the causes of their vaccine hesitancy, meaning that we're listening to what their concerns are about the hesitancy, and then trying to speak to them about what those specific potential misinformation or what their potential concerns are to alleviate those worries. And we're making sure that all the information that's provided is available as well in a range of locally spoken languages, so that language is not a barrier, because for many individuals, English might not necessarily be their first language, or they might be more comfortable engaging in another language, especially whenever it is you're trying to convey information. So because it's important for many of these individuals to have the vaccine, especially if you're clinically extremely vulnerable or you're from an older age, it's quite important that we encourage individuals as well during this period of Ramadan, that the Muslim Council of Britain and the British Islamic Medical Association, they've looked at the question of whether Muslims should or can get vaccinated during the period of Ramadan, and they have confirmed that it is permitted to have a vaccination or to take a COVID-19 test during the period of Ramadan, and that doing so does not break their fast. So for those individuals that they're worried that it might potentially go against that, then they can rest assured that the British Islamic Medical Association as a Muslim and the Muslim Council of Britain have said that it is fine and it won't be breaking their fast. So they're quite happy to encourage individuals to go ahead and do it.
I'm really glad you've made that last point, especially as a lot of people will be probably going through their second doses right now. So yeah, whenever you're called for your vaccine, your first or your second, please go and take your vaccine or have your vaccine. Mikhail, it's great to have that update from you. I hope you'll come back again later in Ramadan and give us another update sometime soon. Is there any final messages you want to give to our listeners? Or?
Yeah, so on behalf of the City Council, the Wolverhampton City Council, we would like to say Ramadan Mubarak to all of the residents across Wolverhampton. We're observing the holy month of Ramadan. And if they would like any more information, then you can always go to the City Council's webpage that is frequently updated with a wide range of vaccine information and FAQs as well around vaccination during the month of Ramadan. And the link to this is www.wolverhampton.gov.uk/vaccine. I'll repeat that, www.wolverhampton.gov.uk/vaccine.
So that concludes our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it and you found it useful. See you next week. Assalamu alaikum.